still love her to death. Like, we still got a child together. We still gonna be hanging out. I'm probably
All
gonna
the
see
time.
her most days of the week. But at the end of the day, we got shit to do. That's it. You feel me? She has a path to go. I got a path to go, but our paths to pay her live. And we always gonna be next to each other.
Yeah.
And who's to say what's gonna happen in the future? All that we know is right now.
Losing a daughter is an unimaginable pain. But what if the heartbreak does not end there? What if the cause of her death was wrongfully ruled, leaving you not only to grieve, but also to fight for the truth? For Jamie Dickerson, this was her reality. When her 29-year-old daughter, April Holt, was found dead in her Nashville home, the cause was swiftly ruled a suicide. But Jamie's instincts told her otherwise. April's death wasn't just a tragic accident. Something far more troubling had happened. Her mother, Jamie, refused to accept the official explanation and set out to find the real story. It wasn't easy. She had to fight against doubts, lies, and even the justice system. But what Jamie discovered would change everything for her family and her community. This is not just a story of loss. It's a story of a mother's love, her determination, and how far she would go to uncover the truth. Join us as we take a look at the murder of April Holt. April Holt was a 29-year-old woman from Nashville, Tennessee, who was deeply devoted to her family and known for her lively presence on social media. She was a mother of 2 young children, with whom she shared a close and loving bond. Friends and family described April as a warm, kind-hearted individual who adored her kids and took pride in being a hands-on, attentive parent. Her mother, Jamie Dickerson, was a significant figure in her life, offering unwavering support and love. On social media, April built a thriving presence, particularly on TikTok, where she shared uplifting and positive content.
Manifesting is not evil. Manifesting is always happening. The manifestation process is the process of life. We're all doing it right now. You've already manifested something that you'll experience tomorrow, today. We are constantly living the manifestations of the past and creating the manifestations of the near future. So to choose to intentionally manifest something better into your life, where's the evil? Where is the evil in that?
With over 200,000 followers, her videos resonated with many, showcasing her cheerful personality and ability to inspire others. She often posted about her daily life, including moments with her children, messages of encouragement, and creative content that drew her audience in. Her social media platforms became a space where she expressed her love for her family and her hopeful outlook on life. Despite the positivity she displayed online, those closest to April later revealed that her personal life was far more challenging than it seemed. Her social media presence became a bittersweet reminder of the vibrant, loving person she was and the struggles she endured privately. On July 29, 2023, everything changed for her family when she was found unresponsive in her home. She was discovered with a plastic bag taped tightly around her neck. It was a shocking and confusing scene. Emergency services were called, and April was rushed to Southern Hills Hospital. Doctors tried their best to save her, but the situation was severe. After 2 days of intensive care, April passed away on July 31, 2023. Her death was a devastating blow to her family, friends, and loved ones. Everyone wanted answers about how such a tragedy could happen. At first, the medical examiner's office ruled April's death a suicide. The report stated that the cause of death was complications from suffocation. This conclusion brought mixed feelings to her family. Some found it hard to believe that April would take her own life, especially considering her love for her children and her close bond with her mother, Jamie Dickerson. Jamie, who was heartbroken over the loss of her daughter, was also filled with questions. She didn't believe the suicide ruling. Jamie described April as a loving and devoted mother who always put her children first. To her, it didn't make sense that April would leave her children behind in such a way. Jamie decided that she needed to look deeper into the situation. The family's doubts were also fueled by the circumstances surrounding April's death. The use of a plastic bag taped to her neck seemed unusual for a suicide. Jamie began collecting information and looking into the events leading up to that fateful day. She spoke with friends, family members, and anyone who had interacted with April recently. Jamie was determined to find the truth. During this time, April's husband, Donovan Holt, presented himself as a grieving widower. He seemed cooperative with the authorities and supportive of the narrative that April's death was a tragic suicide. To those who didn't know him well, he appeared heartbroken, offering condolences to April's family and insisting that her struggles had overwhelmed her. Donovan's demeanor was calm, his words carefully chosen, and he made sure to align himself with the investigation, hoping to steer it away from any deeper suspicions. But for Jamie Dickerson, April's mother, something felt wrong. A mother's intuition is rarely mistaken, and Jamie couldn't shake the nagging feeling that the story being told didn't add up. Her instincts told her that April would never have taken her own life, especially knowing how much her two young children depended on her. April had always been a strong and devoted mother, a woman who fought through life's challenges with resilience. Jamie knew her daughter's character better than anyone, and nothing about this made sense. As the days turned into weeks, Jamie began to notice inconsistencies in Donovan's behavior. While he appeared to mourn publicly, privately, his actions seemed detached and oddly calculated. Donovan avoided certain questions, changed the subject when Jamie pressed for details, and seemed more concerned about maintaining appearances than finding closure for April's death. Jamie couldn't ignore the feeling that Donovan was hiding something. Jamie learned that April and Donovan had been experiencing problems in their marriage. There were reports of arguments and tension between the couple. This new information made Jamie even more certain that April's death was not what it seemed. She began sharing her concerns with the authorities, but it wasn't easy to convince them to reopen the case. Despite the initial ruling, Jamie refused to give up. Her determination became a driving force in the search for justice. She believed that her daughter's story wasn't over and that someone needed to uncover the truth. This marked the beginning of a long and challenging journey for Jamie and her family. Jamie began by piecing together everything she could about April's life in the weeks leading up to her death. She reached out to April's friends and family, asking questions about her behavior, mood, and interactions with others. Most of them agreed April had shown no signs of being suicidal. She had plans for her future and was deeply committed to raising her two children. This information only strengthened Jamie's belief that the suicide ruling was wrong. As Jamie delved deeper, she uncovered troubling details about April's relationship with her husband, Donovan Holt. The couple had been married for several years, but their relationship was far from perfect. Friends and family mentioned that they often argued, and there were whispers of controlling behavior on Donovan's part. Jamie had always felt uneasy about Donovan, but she never imagined things could have escalated to this point. Jamie decided to examine the physical evidence from the scene of April's death. The use of a plastic bag secured with tape struck her as odd and suspicious. She consulted experts, including retired investigators and forensic specialists, to better understand the methods commonly used in suicide cases. Many of them agreed that the circumstances of April's death were unusual and warranted closer scrutiny. Jamie compiled this information into a growing file of evidence she hoped would eventually convince the authorities to take a second look. While Jamie conducted her investigation, Donovan continued to assert that April's death was a suicide. To outsiders, he seemed to be grieving the loss of his wife, but Jamie couldn't shake the feeling that he knew more than he was letting on. She noticed inconsistencies in his statements and behavior that made her increasingly suspicious. For example, Donovan claimed that he hadn't seen April for several hours before her death, but a neighbor reported hearing loud arguing from their home on the day of the incident. Despite her mounting evidence, Jamie faced an uphill battle convincing law enforcement to reopen the case. The initial ruling of suicide meant that the police had closed their investigation. Jamie made repeated attempts to meet with detectives, sharing her findings and pleading with them to dig deeper. Some officers were sympathetic to her concerns but explained that without concrete proof of foul play, they couldn't justify reopening the case. Refusing to give up, Jamie turned to the media for help. She contacted local news outlets and shared April's story, hoping to draw public attention to her fight for justice. Her interviews were emotional and heartfelt, as she described April as a loving mother and vibrant person who would never willingly leave her children behind. The story resonated with many viewers, and Jamie began to receive messages of support from people who had experienced similar struggles. The increased public attention put pressure on the authorities to revisit the case. Finally, after months of persistence, Jamie's efforts paid off. In late 2023, the case was reopened, and a new team of investigators was assigned to examine the evidence. This was a significant victory for Jamie, but it was only the beginning of what would become a lengthy and emotional process. As the investigation progressed, detectives discovered inconsistencies in Donovan's alibi. His account of the events leading up to April's death didn't match the physical evidence or witness statements. Investigators also uncovered evidence of financial troubles and personal conflicts that added to the suspicion surrounding Donovan. These findings painted a picture of a man under pressure, potentially capable of lashing out in a moment of anger or desperation. In addition to these discoveries, investigators re-examined the forensic evidence from the scene. Advances in technology allowed them to analyze the materials used in the crime more thoroughly. The way the tape was applied to the plastic bag suggested that it was done by someone else, not by April herself. This finding was a turning point in the case, as it directly contradicted the original conclusion of suicide. Meanwhile, Jamie continued to advocate for her daughter. She attended every meeting, press conference, and court hearing, refusing to let April's story fade from public memory. Her determination inspired others, and she began to build a network of supporters who believed in her cause. Some were survivors of domestic violence, while others were advocates for justice and victims' rights. Together, they amplified Jamie's voice and helped keep the pressure on law enforcement. The Metro Nashville Police Department's cold case unit continued the investigation into April Holt's death, which had initially been ruled a suicide. Detectives gathered new evidence, including witness statements and forensic findings, that pointed to potential foul play. During their inquiry, they allegedly obtained an official confession from Donovan Holt, in which he reportedly admitted to being responsible for strangling his wife. Donovan confessed to Jamie after using a few tricks under her sleeves. She then proceeded and handed over the confession to the police. This confession and the physical evidence from the scene provided the authorities with the substantial proof they needed to move forward. Shortly after the indictment, Donovan was arrested in San Antonio, Texas, on September 19, 2024. The arrest marked a significant turning point in the case, as it removed him from his life in Texas and brought him back to Tennessee to face justice. It was after his arrest that he confirmed the sequence of the murder and how he later called the ambulance. He was later charged with reckless homicide, evidence tampering, and false reporting. Donovan was extradited back to Nashville, where he was booked into Davidson County Jail. He remained in custody, with bail set at $75,000. Prosecutors will use the newly uncovered evidence, including Donovan's alleged confession and the forensic findings from the crime scene, to build a comprehensive argument. As the legal proceedings unfold, Jamie continues to be the driving force behind the pursuit of justice for her daughter. Her unwavering determination to see her daughter's killer face the full extent of the law has gained significant public attention. Jamie has also received support from advocacy groups and local organizations that have rallied behind her mission to ensure that justice is served. She now spends much of her time advocating for victims of domestic violence and working to raise awareness about the dangers of abusive relationships. In addition to her efforts in court, Jamie has also been a strong advocate for mental health support. She established the Grieve With Me Center, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting victims of domestic violence and their families. The center provides counseling, legal aid, and community resources to help others navigate the aftermath of similar tragedies. Jamie's renewed focus is hoping the charges are increased to first-degree murder in Donovan's case. Jamie's persistence in seeking the truth has played a critical role in ensuring that the investigation remains active and that Donovan is held accountable for his actions. As the legal process continues, the focus remains on uncovering the full extent of what happened and delivering justice for April Holt and her loved ones. Murder cases involving women often reveal a grim reality about how deeply rooted issues like domestic violence, control, and gender-based abuse continue to threaten women's lives. Many victims are silenced by partners, family members, or societal norms that downplay their experiences or dismiss their cries for help. These cases highlight the vulnerability women face, not just in their homes, but also within systems that sometimes fail to protect them. The tragic truth is that many women endure cycles of abuse, often dismissed or ignored until it's too late, leaving their stories untold and justice delayed. Share your thoughts with us in the comment section, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember to hit the notification bell for more videos.